Fans can wait a long time between the announcement of a video game and its eventual release date, but there are some out there that, despite some confirmations to the contrary, we are pretty sure will never ever see the light of day. I'm Josh from What Culture Gaming, and these are 9 announced video games that are never coming out. Why 9 and not 10? Well, tragically, between writing and recording this, one of the games actually was just outright cancelled, so yeah, with that one we were way too on the money.
It's more important than ever to get yourself a VPN. With NordVPN, you can protect your data and keep up with region-locked TV and content. Best of all, you can get signed up for 2 years of Nord with an up to 76% discount and 4 months off, plus a $50 Amazon gift card. All you have to do is click the link below or scan the QR code on screen now to make the most of this great deal.
Number 9, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic Remake. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic is one of the most beloved RPGs of all time, despite how undeniably dated it is today. And so there was tremendous excitement when Aspyr and Sony announced a remake in September 2021. Sadly, we're now coming up on 4 years since that announcement, and we've seen not a single sliver of gameplay since, a concerning fact even with the protracted nature of modern AAA games development. More unsettlingly though, reports have detailed a challenging production, with Aspyr allegedly firing numerous prominent team members, after which the developer was then removed from the project and replaced with Saber Interactive. By 2023, insider Jeff Grubb called the game dead, and to make matters even worse, Saber was then sold off by its parent company Embracer in March 2024. Then, this past March in 2025, Saber CCO Tim Willits made a vague reference to the game still being in development, but considering that we've seen nothing to date, it is tough to have any faith in this ambitious remake ever actually hitting the market. Number 8, Little Devil Inside. Neostream Interactive's enticing action-adventure RPG Little Devil Inside was first announced by way of a Kickstarter campaign in April 2015 for an intended release date in late 2016. Well, we are now officially over a decade on from the Kickstarter launch, and the game still isn't out. Several intended release dates have been missed, punctuated by periods of lengthy radio silence from Neostream themselves, while fans hang on every minor update. In 2020, things seem to be finally looking up, as Little Devil Inside was confirmed to be a timed exclusive for PS4 and PS5. But then, in early 2024, the developer revealed that the team had been downsized and they were in talks with new publishers, implying that their Sony deal had expired, possibly due to the lengthy production cycle. Considering the ambition of the project, an open-world game with survival elements from a very small team, some have suspected that scope creep might be to blame, and that Neostream has simply mounted a project too cumbersome for their workforce. Much as you certainly want to root for this game, it has been cooking so damn long that an actual release date would be a genuine shock at this point. Number 7, Deep Down. Capcom's mesmerizing action RPG Deep Down tore the house down when it was announced alongside the reveal of the PlayStation 4 in 2013, with the expectation that it would be a launch window release for Sony's then shiny new hardware. But then, the PS4 came and went without Deep Down ever resurfacing, and now we're roughly 2/3 of the way through the PS5's expected life cycle, with the game's status still firmly in limbo. The last major update was in 2019 when producer Yoshinori Ono confirmed that Deep Down wasn't scrapped, but then by 2020, Ono had left the company entirely. In 2021, former chairman of Sony Interactive Entertainment Worldwide Studios, Sean Layden, said that he had no idea what happened to the game. Some fans have speculated that Deep Down's assets may have been repurposed into Capcom's recent Dragon's Dogma 2, and considering how crowded, arguably overcrowded, the fantastical dungeon-crawling action RPG genre is in 2025, it is tough to picture this one ever being picked up again. Number 6, Star Citizen. I mean, What really needs to be said about Star Citizen at this point? Though Cloud Imperium Games' Space Sim is undeniably one of the most ambitious video games of all time, almost 13 years have passed since it was first announced in October 2012. Believe it or not, the game was originally set to drop in 2014, but as the developers' crowdfunding ballooned, so too did their plans for the game, resulting in the textbook example of video game scope creep. Cloud Imperium launched the game into early access in 2017 and periodically releases new builds to paying customers, but a full fat 1.0 launch doesn't appear anywhere in sight. At the time of recording, the game has raised close to $850 million in crowdfunding, a figure that's at once mind-blowing and kind of infuriating, considering how little interest the developer seems to have in actually finishing the game. So, would it shock anyone if Cloud Imperium just kept riding this gravy train until funds eventually somehow dry up? It has become such an unwieldy behemoth of a game that it doesn't seem like it's ever going to be ready for prime time. Number 5, In the Valley of Gods. Alright, this one really stings. At the 2017 Game Awards, Firewatch developer Campo Santo announced that their follow-up title was In the Valley of Gods, an action-adventure game set in the Egyptian desert, with the eye-catching reveal trailer going down a treat with most everyone watching. But the tide quickly turned when Campo Santo was acquired by Valve in 2018, and the next year they announced that In the Valley of Gods had been put on hold, due to head writer San Vanaman being shifted to work on Half-Life Alyx instead. By the end of 2019, many prominent team members had removed the game from their social media profiles, and it was later scrubbed from the developer's own website, with the original trailer even being made private. The Steam page, rather hilariously, lists a December 2029 release date at present, though given how aggressively it's been wiped from Campo Santo's public profile, and that they're now operating at the behest of Valve, it is safe to say that this one is deader than disco. Number 4, The Last Night. The Last Night reveals one of the most buzzed about E3 reveal trailers of the last decade, with the cinematic cyberpunk platformer being first shown off at E3 2017, where its presence overshadowed many higher profile AAA titles. Development faced a swift and unexpected complication though, when controversial social media remarks made by the director in 2014 were uncovered. This led to an eventual apology, but the game was still hounded by controversy as The Last Night ended up missing its planned 2018 release date, apparently as a result of business, legal, and financial issues, and publisher Raw Fury parted ways with developer Odd Tales around this time as well, leaving them to self-publish the game. Updates soon ground to a halt though, and while last year the director posted on the game's subreddit asking fans to let us cook, the lack of substantial updates over the last 8 years at this point makes it difficult to believe that The Last Night was ever anything more than an impressive tech demo. Number 3, System Shock 3. The third entry into the beloved System Shock franchise was announced a whole decade ago in 2015, with series creator Warren Spector promisingly confirmed to be overseeing development. However, 4 years of practical silence followed before a terrific gameplay trailer finally landed in 2019. If this seemed to signal a turnaround for the game's fortunes, well, it was sadly short-lived. By 2020, the dev team had been laid off and development was reportedly critically behind, after which Tencent acquired the rights to System Shock 3 and took control of production. Though the critical success and sales success of 2023's System Shock remake left many fans, including myself, hopeful that it would incentivize Tencent to get the threequel out in short order, we've kinda heard nothing since. Earlier this year, there was a very slight sliver of hope, with Night Dive Studios, who developed the aforementioned remake, calling the business situation behind System Shock 3 very complicated, before adding that the project might get an update within a year. That's not remotely committal though, and so System Shock fans are probably better off putting the third game out of their minds entirely as much as they can. Number 2, Beyond Good and Evil 2. Beyond Good and Evil 2 was originally announced by Ubisoft way back in 2008, though almost a full decade of radio silence passed before the action-adventure sequel was re-revealed at E3 2017. Though director Michel Ancel insisted that development was at day zero, the glossy cinematics, visually stunning early gameplay, and ambitious open-world vision for the game instantly made it a highly anticipated title. However, updates on BGE 2 were few and far between. By 2020, Ancel left Ubisoft amid allegations over abusive workplace management, and by 2022, the game had surpassed Duke Nukem Forever for the longest development cycle of any AAA game in history. The hits only kept coming from there though, with the sudden death of creative director Emile Morel in 2023, and the removal of another producer in 2024, fueling speculation that the game had been quietly shelved by Ubisoft. There may be a silver lining, as last October a new creative director was appointed to lead the game, but Ubisoft still insists that they're only going to share more on the game when the time is right, and let's face it, it's almost been another 10 years since it was re-announced from nearly 10 years prior, so who knows what the hell is going on with this thing. Number 1, Routine. And finally, we have Routine, a sci-fi survival horror game set on a lunar base where players must fend off hostile robots, with the atmospheric musical score being provided by none other than Doom composer Mick Gordon. Routine was first announced way back in 2012 as the debut title from Lunar Software, with an intended spring 2013 release. However, development has faced numerous hurdles, namely financial issues and dissatisfaction with the game's overall direction. And so by 2017, Lunar Software stopped providing updates on production at all. Routine seemed like it'd been put out to pasture then, only for it to then be re-announced out of nowhere at Summer Games Fest 2022, with a gorgeous trailer showing off its new Unreal Engine 5 powered visuals. Though the trailer left many optimistic that Routine would soon see the light of day, 3 years later we've had no further updates, and some 13 years after it was first announced, even many of the die-hard fans on the game's subreddit seem to have lost all hope.